Part 6. She always loves to sleep. Author, Guy and Faye. Chapter 51. Chapter 51. Do you still need to ask me? The application requirements are extremely demanding. 90% of the people who applied for the job were turned away. And only men. How many excellent women have hit the wall in tears just because they were born with the wrong gender? Li Ju is good, why don't you want it? Hearing Li Ju's excuse, Chi Jinkai curled his lips and said, going to school? Don't you often miss school? Li Ju's face was slightly stiff, and a trace of annoyance flashed in his eyes. That was before, the exam is coming soon, and I have to review. So, I don't have time to be your secretary. Chi Jinkai said nothing, opened the car door directly, lifted Li Ju's collar skillfully, and carried her into the car. Jing I thought his eyes might be blind. Either Chi Jinkai is possessed by something dirty. His third master used to be 3 feet away from women. Even getting closer feels like it's contaminated with bacteria. I wish I could detoxify myself 3 times. Why would you do such an intimate gesture as lifting your collar? Right? That's right. Must be an illusion. Just when Jingyi turned to stone, Li Ju had already been carried into the car. Li Ju. She felt provoked. Hey, I told you I wanted to review. Don't worry, with your grades, you won't be able to pass the review. On the way to SR, Li Ju remained silent. He looked cold and the air pressure around him was extremely low. Failed the review? Your sister for failing. Jingyi, who was driving, felt that the cool air from behind almost froze him. Chi Jinkai, who was sitting next to Li Ju, was not affected at all. He calmly picked up the document he had put aside and read it, his eyes glancing aside from time to time. Li Ju hasn't said a word to him since getting in the car, and doesn't even want to get close to him. Sitting far away, close to the car door, the space in the middle is enough to fit an adult. Chi Jinkai picked up the pen and circled the holes in the document, a smile inadvertently flashed across his eyes. This is, depressed. Snort. The best is yet to come. Chi Jinkai held the pen slightly tightly with his fingers, and the tip of the pen left a faint mark on the paper. There is a bad light hidden in the cold eyes. After all, he drank a lot of her bath water back then. Yes, Master Jingyi replied. Chi Jinkai glanced at Li Ju's gloomy face and said calmly, Miss Li is my secretary now. You will hand over the work when you arrive at the company later. Yes. Jingyi was stunned for a long time before he realized what he was doing. He looked at the rearview mirror in shock. No way. Do you really want Li Ju to be your personal secretary? Female secretary? Jing I felt his hands trembling. He secretly observed Li Ju, wanting to see what she was capable of, allowing him to keep her by his side as a secretary. This is unprecedented. Is it possible? Because Li Ju teased me before, I want to take her by his side to take revenge? No, no, no. Jing I immediately rejected this treasonous idea. How could you be so petty? Besides, if you really want to take revenge on her, why not just assign her the lowest position and let her experience the head-shaking workload of SR? Why bother to let her be your personal secretary? Etc. Jing I suddenly thought of something and his pupils suddenly dilated. He remembered, Li Ju seemed to have asked me to be her boyfriend before. Master, can't you be serious? I go. Jing I swallowed and looked at Li Ju with reverence. It's not simple. Even the master can win, the future wife is really extraordinary. Jingyi secretly thought, why not tell others the good news? Their husband, who has been single for many years, finally fell in love. Super plus enjoy. However, this thought was only fleeting. Forget it. Let them discover it themselves. Their faces will definitely look good by then. Jing I thought happily. Li Ju didn't know how much inner drama Jingyi had. She looked at the falling scene outside the window and secretly poked Chi Jinkai into a sieve in her heart. Do you have any more questions? Chi Jinkai turned to ask Li Ju. Question. What problems could there be? Li Ju sneered, you have arranged everything, do you still need to ask me? Yeah, too. Recently I found some problems with the previous chapters, and I have tried to modify them. If you are interested, you can reread it. It doesn't matter if you don't read it. The plot has not changed and it will not affect the following plot. We apologize for the inconvenience. Sorry for the inconvenience. In addition, today's third update. End of this chapter. She always loves to sleep. Author, Guy and Fei. Chapter 52. Chapter 52. Why are you in the same office as him? Atmosphere, dead silence. Seeing that Li Ju's face was so gloomy, Chi Jinkai said, you don't need to be so bitter and resentful. I also helped you. Help her? Li Ju laughed angrily, with cold eyes, forgive me for being blind, I really don't see how you helped me. Chi Jinkai put down the document in his hand, put the cap back on his pen, and said, I checked your grades at Imperial University over the years. Let's put it this way, it's difficult for you to graduate. Then. He paused and looked at Li Ju, his light gray pupils shimmering with light, so, I will give you a chance to be my secretary and study beside me. This will be of great help to you in the future. Whether you join Lishi or go to another company, you can make up for the shortcomings in your academic qualifications if you have experience working in senior. Li Ju twitched the corners of his lips and replied with a smile, oh, thank you very much. You're welcome. After all, you call me uncle based on seniority. The veins on Li Ju's forehead throbbed faintly. Third uncle? Your third uncle. What the are you actually showing off your elder's records? When you asked her for money just now, why didn't you say that you were an elder and not be too fussy about it? Chi Jing Ci. Call me third uncle. Jing Yi's mouth twitched, what kind of hobby is this? Li Ju turned to look at him, grinding his teeth and making a sound from between his teeth, threateningly, the beating just now wasn't enough, was it? As soon as these words came out, the air became silent for 3 seconds. The tires rub against the ground, making a screeching sound. Jing Yi's hands shook violently and he lost his grip on the steering wheel. The car body suddenly made an S shape. The mind goes blank. Jing I felt that he was sleepwalking. Otherwise, how could I have heard such shocking words? Haven't you received enough beating just now? His cold and dignified father. Being beaten? How can it be? This is an illusion. Either he has donkey hair stuffed in his ears. Right? That's it? Due to inertia, Li Ju suddenly jumped forward. If she hadn't grabbed the seat belt quickly with quick hands and eyes, she would have fallen into Chi Jinkai's arms. She glared at Jing Yi in front of her. Can this person drive? She met a Parkinson's patient before who had trembling hands and trembling feet. Could it be that these two are long-lost brothers? Chi Jinkai also swayed suddenly, frowning, looking coldly at Jing Yi in front of him, and said with a chill in his voice, Jing Yi. I'm sorry, sir, my hands were slippery for a moment, Jing Yi said. Because of this little episode, the two of them stopped talking and remained silent all the way until they arrived at the SR door. Chi Jinkai got out of the car first, and Li Ju followed reluctantly, his expression as lazy as ever, his peach blossom eyes full of laziness, and his whole person was tired. She followed Chi Jinkai, got into the CEO's exclusive elevator, and went directly to the top floor. She didn't pay any attention to the people behind her who were already in a panic. Oh my God! Did I read that correctly? There is a woman following Mr. San. What did I see, female, or alive? She can't be the third master's sister. I have met the third master's sister, she is not her. Who is that, to be able to bring third master to the company, the relationship must not be simple. It can't be, girlfriend, right? Impossible, the third master has a girlfriend and I stand on my head and have diarrhea. But they really match each other. Yeah. This is your desk. Your job is to sort and place the documents signed by me, Miss Lee. Do you have any questions? While the discussion below was in full swing, Jingyi was taking Li Ju on the top floor to get familiar with the working environment. The top floor is Qi Jinkai's exclusive office area. Except for a few people who often stay around him, others are generally not allowed to come up. This was the first time he had brought a stranger with him, a woman who might become his wife. I felt a little uneasy. I was afraid that Li Ju was not familiar with the work process, so I asked specifically. Unexpectedly, Li Ju actually said, yes. Ah. Why am I in the same office as him? Li Ju stretched out his hand and pointed at the luxurious desk not far away. The following is the daily life of the cold and tyrannical boss and the irritable secretary's love, mutual, and unusual, fighting. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. She always loves to sleep. Author, Guy and Faye. Chapter 53. Chapter 53. Another week of classes. This. Jingyi scratched his head and said, the personal secretary's position is right here. He used to be my personal secretary, and this is his position. Now, Li Ju has replaced him, and he can only be the driver. Otherwise, you will really lose your job. Do you have any problem with sharing an office with me? Qi Jinkai opened the door and walked in, followed by several people. They are all young, with quite a lot of dark circles under their eyes. Although they are wearing formal clothes, their hair is messy and their shirts are not buttoned properly. Li Ju thought, could this be SR's mysterious think tank, Qi Jinkai's dog-headed military advisors? Each of them looks like a national treasure that has just escaped from the zoo. Several people were stunned when they saw Li Ju, with expressions as if they had seen a ghost. My God! They actually saw a woman in the CEO's office? This is simply a muffled thunder on a sunny day. It caught them off guard. What's even more tragic is their ghostly appearance. It's over, the image is completely gone. A few people were downcast. It's all the president's fault. For the cooperation project with MZ, I locked them in the company and worked overtime for a month. It has become like this now, where people are neither humans nor ghosts. Of course I don't dare. Having said that, Li Ju took advantage of the situation and sat on the desk, with her toes tapping the ground and her other leg dangling, so casually. There is no sign of daring at all. The people standing behind Qi Jinkai were shocked. Who is this person? How dare you be so presumptuous in the president's office? The key point is that the president is not only not angry at all, but also looks like he is used to it. Qi Jinkai turned around and said to the stunned people, this is the new Secretary Li, just hand the documents to her. He specially emphasized the word Secretary Li with an unknown meaning. Li Ju then saw that each of them was holding a large pile of documents in their hands. Li Ju. Although I am the boss of MZ, I hardly go to work, and I don't know much about the workload of a president in a day. But I feel so many documents. It's not scientific at all. The hands of several people holding the documents were sore to death. As soon as he heard this, he immediately gave everything in his hand to Li Ju. Then I turned around and was about to leave when I felt something was wrong. Several people. No. Wait a minute. Secretary. Female. They immediately flew back to Li Ju, looking her up and down as if they had seen something rare. Hello, Secretary Li, my name is Jean Li, what do you call me? Secretary Li, you are so beautiful. How old are you? Do you have a boyfriend? You all start driving for me. A chubby little fat man squeezed in, pushed the two people aside, and looked at Li Ju with a flattering look on his face. "Secretary Li, I want to treat you to a meal. I wonder if you are free." "Fat man, get out of here." "Fat man, please die." The two people who were pushed away each kicked the fat man on the buttocks. "Fatty dog." Clearly knowing that SR has more monks than meat, and the top floor of the company is a monk temple, and there is no woman at all. It's not easy for someone to come here, but this actually wants to strike first? I'm afraid I don't want to die. The two of them worked together to kick the fat man aside, and then got close to him again. "Secretary Li, I also want to have dinner with you. Are you free?" "There's me and there's me." The two of them squeezed each other, vying to treat Li Ju to dinner. But he didn't notice the disdain in Jing Yan, who was standing aside. "Have these IQs been gnawed by dogs? I wonder if I brought this here? Want to invite you to dinner? Your life is too long." Li Ju really wants to say something now. They are as unshaven as a national treasure, but they still want to treat her to a meal? Who gave them the courage? Besides, these silly-looking people are really a think tank instead of a mentally retarded group. Qi Jinkai narrowed his eyes and looked at the situation where Li Ju was surrounded. He felt secretly unhappy and said coldly, "It seems that you are very free, so I will work for another week." A faint voice came from behind, like a basin of cold water being poured down. "Let them feel cold all over." "No. No, President, we were wrong, please don't abuse me. God knows they have worked overtime until they vomited, okay. One more week. You will really go crazy." The third update is over. There are no more updates today. Please vote and comment. End of this chapter. She always loves to sleep. Author, Guy and Fei. Chapter 54. Chapter 54. Grandpa thinks I am promiscuous. Three people who were excitedly inviting Li Ju to dinner just now. Now he is standing in front of Qi Jinkai with his head down, reporting on the progress of his work. The land in the eastern suburbs has been acquired, and most of the residents there have agreed to the demolition. Although there are still a few stubborn households, the problem is not big and it won't take much time to solve. Qi Jinkai nodded. He was never worried about the eastern suburbs. He is worried about MZ, which is cooperating with SR on this project. MZ suddenly set up its branch in Daijing before, and firmly occupied a position in Daijing with extremely strong means. Has a great influence on the large and small forces in the imperial capital. The most important thing is that so far, he has never met the people behind MZ. He has always been talking to the project leader. This feeling of not being able to find out everything is full of uncertainties, which makes him a little worried about this cooperation. After all, he is more accustomed to taking control of the overall situation and planning everything. Qi Jinkai raised his head and asked, "Where is MZ?" "We have negotiated the time with MZ before, but when I called yesterday to ask, they said that the president of MZ went abroad to deal with matters and would not be able to come back in the short term," Fatty said. When mentioning MZ, Li Ju, who was sorting out documents, paused with his fingertips and glanced at them unconsciously. The fat man became angrier as he thought about it, and said unfairly, "What do you mean by MZ? We agreed a few months ago that we would discuss cooperation together, but they kept saying that the president is not here and asked us to postpone the time." Qin Li was surprised. "Are you so arrogant?" "That's not all." Fatty continued to complain angrily, "The person in charge at MZ has always said that their president is on a business trip abroad, but I asked their internal staff privately and found out that their president simply went abroad for vacation." Jing Ai's eyes widened. Vacation? Qin Li was shocked. "I'll go." "President MZ, is he so unreliable?" The fat man looked at Qi Jinkai with a sad face. "President, you can't blame us for this. It's not that we don't care about this cooperation, it's really. The other party is so unreliable. Li Ju's peach blossom eyes narrowed slightly, danger flashing across her eyes. Vacation. Looks like someone is having a good time without her here. At this time, a person sunbathing on a beach far away suddenly sneezed. Touched his ears. Who is thinking about him? Chi Jinkai pinched his eyebrows, feeling a little embarrassed. The president of the MZ branch is indeed too out of touch. I really don't know why the people behind MZ chose him. Ignore him for now, Sun Lang, go to M State immediately and try to contact MZ headquarters. Sun Lang said, President, do you want to talk directly with the boss behind MZ? Chi Jinkai nodded, yeah. Okay, I understand. MZ's behind-the-scenes boss and current SR President's personal secretary Li Ju. Talk about nonsense. Talk to the ghost. Labor and capital are here. Li Ju rolled his eyes, 100% sure that Sun Lang would miss. Buzz buzz. The vibration of the mobile phone broke the brief silence. Hello, Grandpa, Li Ju said. Chi Jinkai waved his hand, and several people immediately understood and retreated. In a blink of an eye, only he and Li Ju were left in the office. Xiaju, where are you? The servant said you went out early in the morning, why haven't you come back yet? Mr. Li asked. Li Ju glanced at Chi Jinkai and said honestly, I'm at work. What class are you in? You haven't even graduated yet, stop wandering and come back quickly. Li Ju. Grandpa always thinks that she is a prodigal, what should I do? She explained helplessly, Grandpa, I am really at work. Mr. Li still didn't believe it. Okay, then tell me, which company do you work for? Senior. After a while, Li Ju heard the 1-year-old man sigh, Xiaoju, are you, still not awake? What I said is true. Then what do you do? Secretary. SR President's personal secretary. Mr. Li felt that she must be making excuses, don't lie to me. You think I don't know anything at home all day long, right? The third child of the Chi family only looks for men when looking for a secretary. Please give more comments in the book circle, there are too few comments, woo 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 woo. End of this chapter. She always loves to sleep. Author, Guy Enfei. Chapter 55. Chapter 55, The Means Are Not Old. Li Ju looked at Chi Jinkai with difficulty. Even her old man knew what was wrong with this person. Xiaju, Grandpa knows that you like to play outside, but your uncle is coming back these days, can't you stay at home and have a good family reunion? On the phone, Mr. Li started talking. Even if you don't like crowds, it's always okay to have a meal together, right? Are you going to tell such a big lie? Li Ju's fingers holding the phone were a little white, and she resisted the urge to drop the phone. Why doesn't he believe it? Li Ju took a deep breath and wanted to find the culprit Chi Jinkai and ask him to explain this trivial matter. Unexpectedly, this person came up behind her at some point and took the phone away due to his height advantage. Chi Jinkai held the phone with one hand and said to her, Secretary Li, please help me make a cup of coffee. Li Ju's peach blossom eyes were slightly narrowed, full of inquiry. What on earth is this man going to say to the old man? You actually have to send her away? Long time. Li Ju finally turned around to make coffee. Chi Jinkai put the phone to his ear. Hello, Mr. Li. It's time to rest. The originally small tea room was now crowded with people, and the discussion was in full swing. The only thing they gossip about is the breaking news they saw this morning. Who do you think is the woman following Mr. San this morning? Could it be, the third master's girlfriend? Come on, if boyfriend and girlfriend can be so estranged, didn't you see it this morning, that woman is not as close as Mr. Jing to the third master? Then who is she? Who else could it be, someone who relies on connections to get through the back door? A voice full of ridicule was particularly harsh in the crowd. Everyone looked at the woman leaning next to the water fountain. Hwajia, what do you know? One person asked curiously. Hwajia comes from a well-established family and was promoted to supervisor not long after joining SR. Usually relying on her power, she often bullies newcomers. Many people are afraid of her background and can only swallow their anger. However, although her character is not very good, she is indeed very well informed. After all, there is someone above her. Hwajia looked at the curious eyes of everyone and felt a sense of superiority. He pretended to be profound and said, "That woman is not simple." This sentence aroused everyone's curiosity. Why is it not simple? Hwajia said, "I heard, she is from the Lee family." Lee family. Hwajia looked around, lowered his voice and said, "I heard that Mr. Lee stuffed her in here specially." Lao Lee. Several people suddenly screamed. Hwajia frowned and sneered, "It's rare to see something strange." The eyes were full of contempt, as if they were mocking them for not seeing the world. The faces of those people turned red and they did not dare to speak anymore. They came from a small place and it was difficult to get into SR. How could a big shot like Mr. Lee, who often appears on TV, not be surprised when he suddenly heard about it? Hwajia continued, "I heard that Mr. Lee wanted her to study with Third Master, but..." At this point, she snorted softly and said, "I think I just want her to climb into Third Master's bed." Everyone was stunned, and a few people didn't believe it. It's impossible, how could a big man like Mr. Lee do such a thing? Thinking about it, I think it's too cheap. How is it impossible? For such a wealthy family, the most important thing is the rise and fall of the family. Marriage is a normal thing, Hwajia said. In the imperial capital, the only one who can be considered a close match with the Lee family is the Chi family. It's not surprising that Mr. Lee wants to marry the Chi family. Everyone nodded, feeling that it made sense. Hwajia added, "But you all know the Third Master's temperament, so how could they get married?" So, Mr. Lee sent that woman to be the Third Master's personal secretary. Isn't the purpose obvious? Personal secretary. Hwajia nodded, his eyes full of sarcasm. What kind of personal secretary? I just want to cook the rice, and then the marriage between the two families will be natural. This is too. The man said nothing further. Hwajia spoke up for him, "Mr. Lee is so old, but I didn't expect that this method would keep him from aging." Second update. Let me tell you some good news, I may be recommended. The children who have never been recommended are excited. JPG. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. She always loves to sleep. Author, Guy and Faye. Chapter 56. Chapter 56, Making Irresponsible Remarks in Front of Her. Dash. Suddenly someone screamed. Everyone looked up. I saw someone standing at the door of the tea room. He leaned lazily against the doorframe, holding a black coffee cup in his hand. The eyes are clear and light, and the appearance is stunning. Peach Blossom eyes narrowed slightly and looked at them lazily, with a chilling chill in their eyes. Li Ju glanced lightly. Wherever he looked, everyone lowered their heads with guilty conscience, feeling like they had been caught speaking bad things behind their backs. Li Ju's eyes finally fell on Hwajia. The latter's eyes were a little dodgy, but he still caught her gaze. "What did you say, Mr. Lee, just now?" Li Ju asked calmly, but everyone present felt the dangerous coldness in this sentence. Hwajia also hesitated for a moment, not sure whether he should say it or not. After all, the power of the Lee family is not something she can provoke, and Mr. Lee is not something she can discuss at will. However, the pride she had developed since childhood did not allow her to bow to others. Besides, what she said is the truth, what is there to be afraid of? So, She straightened her chest and said confidently, "Everyone knows what the purpose of becoming Third Master's personal secretary is." As she spoke, she glanced at everyone specifically to seek approval and make herself feel more confident. However, this time, no one answered her, everyone lowered their heads and said nothing. Hwajia bit her lip and secretly cursed a coward. Li Ju curved his lips and chuckled. He said nothing and just walked straight to Hwajia. Hwajia's heartbeat skipped half a minute. However, Li Ju walked straight past her and came to the water dispenser. Pressing the button, steaming hot water flowed into the coffee cup. The steam filled the air and covered her expression. The rich aroma of coffee spreads instantly and fills everyone's nostrils. "Oh, then tell me, what is my purpose?" Li Ju turned off the button and put the coffee on the table nearby, feeling funny in her heart. I didn't expect that all the SR employees are so gossipy. She has only been in office for a few hours, and the rumors have already spread like this. Could it be? The upper beam is not straight and the lower beam is crooked? Aren't you just trying to get close to the Third Master? Hwajia snorted coldly, looking like he had seen through it all. Li Ju really admired this man's ability to think things through. Have you seen it with your own eyes? Hwajia was asked, but he still said hard, Three Masters have never used the female secretary, and now a sudden emergence of you, will it explain the problem? What does it indicate? Li Yan raised an eyebrow. You are plotting evil against him, taking advantage of your family background and waiting for an opportunity to get close to him. Ha, if you are sick, just go to the doctor directly. Li Ju sneered. You dash. Hwajia's voice was stuck in her throat and she was so angry. Don't think that just because you are from the Li family, you can. Li Ju interrupted her before she could finish her words, since you know that I am from the Li family, you still dare to provoke me. How brave you are. She turned her head slightly and looked at Hwajia teasingly, but her eyes were full of coldness. Just you? How dare you make irresponsible remarks in front of me? Hwajia's face turned red with anger, and all the blood in his body rushed to his brain. You are just relying on having a good grandfather. What's there to be proud of? An illegitimate daughter, if Mr. Li hadn't become confused in his old age, could make someone like you. Li Ju's fingertips paused slightly, and a cold light appeared in his eyes. She really dared to say it. The next second, Hwajia saw Li Ju, who had his back to her just now, suddenly spin around and kick out. The wind on the legs is sharp, the momentum is fierce, and it is mixed with the aura of violence. Hwajia's pupils shrank suddenly, the blood on his face faded, and his eyes were filled with fear. The next second, the violent breath suddenly paused and stopped in her ears, so close. The wind from her legs swept up a few strands of her hair. Hwajia's face was pale, and her whole body seemed to have been suddenly drained of strength. Her legs became weak and she fell heavily to the ground. Li Ju looked calmly at the man sitting on the ground with dull eyes, and uttered one word in a voice as if it had been tempered by ice, "Get out." Everyone was as quiet as a chicken, not daring to breathe a single breath. They all lowered their heads and stayed away from Hwajia, for fear of being affected. They don't have a strong backing. Can't afford to offend Hwajia, let alone the Li family. The third update is over, some people say the fourth update is not over yet. Let's play a game. If the votes can exceed 700, I will add more updates. I will do what I say. End of this chapter. She always loves to sleep. Author, Guy Enfe. Chapter 57. Chapter 57. This is my grandfather. Hwajia sat on the ground in a state of embarrassment, her eyes frightened and her face turned white. It was absolutely intolerable for her pride to be embarrassed in front of so many people. She was so angry that she went crazy when she thought that the people around her who saw her jokes would laugh at her privately in the future. But she knew very well that the woman in front of her was not something she could mess with. Hwajia struggled to get up from the ground, glanced at Li Ju resentfully, and said harshly before leaving, "Wait for me." Then he ran away. Li Ju didn't take her words to heart and looked sideways at the others. "Are you very free?" Everyone looked at each other and quickly dispersed. Li Ju stirred the coffee, and the rich aroma filled his nose. Pick up the sugar on the table, hesitating whether to add it to it. After pondering for a moment, his eyes suddenly glanced at the instant noodles next to him. The seasoning packet is still brand new and untouched. Looks like he didn't have time to soak. Li Ju's eyebrows suddenly moved slightly as he thought of something. The white and slender hands put down the sugar, picked up the seasoning packet, and tore it open. The distance was too close, and the spicy smell suddenly flooded into the nose. Li Ju frowned, and his movements did not stop at all. Put the whole package of condiments into the coffee. Stir patiently a few times to allow it to fully dissolve. When you're done, throw the used seasoning packet into the trash can and destroy the corpse. Li Ju's lips curved into a smile. Drink coffee? This is a good habit. A few minutes later, Li Ju left the tea room. Looking closely, the figure still has a hint of joy. Behind her. "Where is my seasoning bag?" A voice full of panic sounded. The man turned around and asked, "Has any of you seen my seasoning bag?" Everyone shook their heads to show that they didn't see it. One person said, "Isn't it because you didn't bring the seasoning packet?" The man bit his lip with a sad expression. "What? There is no seasoning packet for instant noodles. Why are you so unlucky?" Li Ju placed the coffee at the right temperature in front of Chi Jinkai. "Here, your coffee." Chi Jinkai was holding a pen and marking errors and omissions on the document. He didn't notice anything strange in Li Ju's eyes. He responded without raising his head, "Well, put it there." Then he stretched out his slender hand and threw the mobile phone on the table into her arms. Li Ju reached out to catch it and asked, "What did you say to my grandfather?" "Ask yourself." Li Ju curled his lips and said nothing if he didn't want to. "Mean." I was cursing him in my heart when my cell phone suddenly rang again. As if it had been predicted in advance. Li Ju. "Grandfather?" "Xiaju, Xiao Ci told me just now, so you should study hard with him." Small words. Li Ju's mouth twitched. "Why are you so intimate?" "Grandpa, you don't, do you believe it?" Mr. Li snorted coldly, "Isn't it because most of what you say is inaccurate?" Suddenly, Mr. Li's tone became serious. "Xiaju, you should work more seriously. You are lucky to be with Xiaosai. You must learn from him in the future." "What to learn? What can he learn?" Li Ju rolled his eyes. "You must have some idea. If you want to learn, others may not be willing to teach you." Seeing that Li Ju didn't speak, Mr. Li frowned slightly. "Did you hear what I said? You must learn with humility and put away your usual laziness, otherwise, I may break your legs." "Grandpa, it's not like that," Li Ju said helplessly. "Why not?" "You don't know how happy I am to hear that Xiao Ci is willing to teach you. I am worried that you will starve to death if you can't find a job in the future." That tone sounded like a big burden had been lifted off of me. MZ Big Boss worried about being starved to death. Li Ju. This is my grandfather. Identification is completed. The number of votes has exceeded 700. I will add an update chapter. I did what I said. End of this chapter. She always loves to sleep. Author, Guy and Fei. Chapter 58. Chapter 58, The future wife brooded herself. Li Ju cut off the phone expressionlessly and looked at Chi Jinkai. "What on earth did you say to my grandfather?" Chi Jinkai put down the pen in his hand, raised his head and said, "Nothing, I just talked about your grades and then guessed your future." Li Ju, despicable. Her grades are so bad, Mr. Li will definitely be worried. At this time, he once again expressed his willingness to take her with him and let her learn. It would be strange if the old man was not overjoyed. Chi Jinkai stared at Li Ju with his light gray eyes, so Secretary Li must not let down Mr. Li's hard work. Li Ju sneered a few times in his heart. Screw your sister for all your hard work. She pushed the coffee in front of Chi Jinkai and said, "You'd better drink the coffee quickly. It won't be good if it gets cold. Drink. The poison won't kill you." Chi Jinkai raised his eyebrows, not noticing the glint in her eyes. He picked up the coffee cup with his slender fingers and brought it to his lips. He was about to drink, but he paused for a second. He squinted his eyes, and his peripheral vision wandered on Li Ju's face. As expected, I found a hint of expectation hidden in her eyes. Combined with the particularly weird taste of this coffee, Chi Jinkai understood the truth instantly. The thin lips were raised, and a smile overflowed. "You seem to be looking forward to me drinking this cup of coffee." Li Ju's lips twitched slightly. "Is there any?" Chi Jinkai put down the coffee and stared at Li Ju at leisure. "Why don't Secretary Li tell me what you put in this cup of coffee?" Looking at his appearance, it was obvious that he had guessed what was going on. 2. The smell was so strong that if he couldn't smell it, his nose would really be blind. She didn't think Chi Jinkai would drink this cup of coffee. Just want to make him feel sick. So, Li Ju said directly and frankly, "I don't know either." "Have no idea?" "Yes. She really doesn't know." "I don't know, what's in the seasoning bag?" Seeing that Li Ju refused to admit it, Chi Jinkai didn't say anything. "Well, in that case, Secretary Li should go back to work first. After all, there are still so many documents to sort out." Li Ju looked at the pile of documents on her desk, with a black line hanging from her forehead. He did it on purpose. Deliberately trying to trouble her. Li Ju returned to his seat, picked up a document, and wanted to smash it on Chi Jinkai's head. At this time, there was a knock on the office door. "Enter." The door was pushed open and Jing Ai came in. He walked up to Chi Jinkai and said respectfully, "Sir, the old man called just now and asked you to go to my old house for dinner tonight." After saying that, he looked at Chi Jinkai with eyes full of sympathy. "During this period, as long as the old man asks me to go back for dinner, there is only one purpose. That's it, blind date." Chi Jinkai paused his fingertips slightly and glanced at Jing Yi. The latter immediately lowered his head and said nothing. "God knows that the blind date arranged by the old man is what bothers me the most. It's just that the old man is too old to dare to object openly. I can only feel depressed myself." Chi Jinkai narrowed his eyes and focused on Li Ju, who was still struggling with documents not far away. He raised his eyebrows lightly, not knowing what he thought of, and the gloom in his eyes gradually dissipated. "I see." "Huh?" Jing Ai raised his head in surprise. "Why did you suddenly agree this time? Don't you always refuse?" "Yes, sir, let me tell the old house." Speaking, he was about to exit. "Wait a moment." Chi Jinkai suddenly stopped him. Jing Ai turned around in confusion. "What's wrong, sir? Do you have any other instructions?" Chi Jinkai pushed the coffee at hand towards him. "Drink this cup of coffee." Jing Ai didn't know why. "Don't worry, I haven't drank it," Secretary Li brooded himself. "Don't let it go to waste." Chi Jinkai glanced at Li Ju meaningfully. Li Ju stiffened. Jing Yi was flattered when he heard that the future wife had made the tea herself. I immediately picked up the cup of coffee and took a big gulp. But the next second, the spicy taste and the rich bitterness of the coffee instantly intertwined and filled the throat. He squirted out. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. She always loves to sleep. Author, Guy and Fei. Chapter 59. Chapter 59. Be his driver. The facial features are twisted together. The expression is difficult to describe. Li Ju. Very good, this coffee seems to be very powerful. Jing Ai's face turned green, and the hand holding the coffee kept shaking, but he didn't dare to spill any of it. After all, his grandfather's misophobia is outrageous. If the coffee stains the ground, Master will definitely punish him to wash the toilet. Jing Yi's heart shed 2 lines of lasagna. Master, if I do something wrong, can you just punish me? Even if it doesn't work out, he can commit suicide. As for poisoning him, it would be bad to waste this cup of coffee. He opened his mouth, and just as he was about to say something, the smell from his mouth flooded into his nose. Bye. Finally, he couldn't bear it anymore, covered his mouth and ran out. Qi Jinkai raised his eyebrows slightly, looked at Jing Yi's hurried back, and said, well, it seems that Jing Yi has to be paid for work-related injuries. Test the poison. It can also be considered a work-related injury. Li Ju. She looked at Qi Jinkai with horror. This man actually didn't even spare his subordinates. How ruthless is it? Qi Jinkai met her gaze and said, it seems that you are very talented in making poison. A prize. You are too modest. I think Jing Ai will have to go to the hospital this time. Li Ju. Are you kidding me? Can a cup of coffee send you to the hospital? Li Ju put down the document in his hand, crossed his arms and looked at him, so, do you need me to pay for the medical expenses? Qi Jinkai shook his head and said, that's not necessary, but... Li Ju raised his eyebrows, what? Qi Jinkai propped up his chin and stared at him, you heard it just now. I'm going back to my old house tonight. If Jing Ai goes to the hospital, then no one will be my driver. Li Ju said, shall I call a driver for you? Qi Jinkai shook his head, Secretary Li, you made this cup of coffee, can't you show some respect? For example, you drive me to my old house. He. Li Ju sneered. You won't find anyone else. Qi Jinkai's lips curled up slightly, didn't I give you a chance to make amends? He raised his eyebrows slightly, with a smile in his eyes, and asked, why, is it possible that Secretary Li has no guilt about Jing Ai drinking your coffee and going to the hospital? Li Ju hummed, it's not me who let him drink that cup of coffee. Why should I feel guilty? You mean it's all my fault? It is. He is so cruel to his subordinates, this person is really evil-hearted. Qi Jinkai sighed, I didn't expect that cup of coffee to be so powerful. Li Ju twitched the corners of her mouth. Why did she always feel that these words sounded awkward? Qi Jinkai asked again, you gave me that cup of coffee to poison me to death. No, that's weird. Secretary Li, don't forget that you are working to pay off the debt. If you murder the creditor, you will be punished with an additional penalty. Qi Jinkai looked at Li Ju with a half smile, so, I have to ask Secretary Li to be my driver for a few days. In the bathroom, the sound of gargling kept coming. Jing Ai spit out the water in his mouth, stretched out his hand, took a breath, and smelled it. It seems that I can still smell a strange smell. So he took another big gulp of water. Before he could spit it out, his cell phone suddenly rang. You go to the hospital for a checkup later. Jing Ai's eyes widened in surprise, and he almost choked. Does Master say this because he cares about him? Although the cup of coffee just now was given by him. But I was still inexplicably moved. Jing Ai, Master, actually you don't have to. Before he could edit it and send it out, Qi Jinkai said something else. Expense reimbursement. Jing Ai lowered his head, pondered for a moment, and decisively deleted the edited words. Okay, sir, I'll go there later. Also, you don't have to go to work these days. Take a good rest. Jing Ai. No. Master, why do you feel like he is bedridden when you say this? He is very good. Besides, how can I make money if you don't let me go to work? I still have to pay rent. Jingyi typed quickly with his fingers, trying to prove that he was fine and could still work. The next second. Paid vacation. Jing-I skillfully deleted the edited words again. Second update. End of this chapter. She always loves to sleep. Author, Guy and Fei. Chapter 60. Chapter 60. Do you want to race in the city? Chi Jinkai looked at the screen of his mobile phone with a smile on his lips. How dare the little girl tease him? Then let her be the driver for a few days. A certain man secretly made a note for Li Ju in the booklet in his heart. Jing Yi sent a screenshot of the chat history just now to Jing Er, wanting to show off in front of him. Scene 1, Picture 2. Jing I, did you see that? I am given a holiday, happy.jpg. What does it mean? Stupid. Jingdu was immediately furious. You are stupid. You big ice lump. You are just envious of my vacation. Time flies so fast, it's 5 o'clock in the afternoon in the blink of an eye. Chi Jinkai finished reading the last document in his hand and put down the pen in his hand. Turn your head slightly and relax your neck. As a result, he glanced at Li Ju, who was sleeping soundly on the table not far away. Chi Jinkai. Did he ask her to be his secretary because he wanted her to sleep with him? Chi Jinkai stood up, took the coat on the side with his long arms, and walked to Li Ju. A shadow fell on her head, but she still slept deeply. Han did not notice anyone approaching. Chi Jinkai narrowed his eyes, stretched out his fingers, and tapped on her desk. Li Ju's dark eyelashes trembled slightly, and she slowly opened her eyes. The first thing that catches the eye is the big hand with distinct knuckles. Further up, he met Chi Jinkai's cold phoenix eyes. He was facing the huge floor-to-ceiling window. The afterglow of the evening sun poured through the glass onto his handsome face, and his thick long eyelashes were covered with a layer of fine golden light, casting a slender shadow. The afterglow shone on him, as if giving him a layer of holy light. Cold and unconventional, indifferent and dignified. To be honest, Chi Jinkai is such a skinny person. It deserves to be called an immortal who entered the world. Li Ju was stunned for a moment, obviously dazzled by this sudden appearance. However, he quickly came back to his senses. She bit her lip secretly, thinking that she was really blind. You actually think that such a childish ghost who is black-hearted, stingy, and vindictive is an immortal? Ah! Li Ju said angrily to the guy who disturbed his sleep, what are you doing? Chi Jinkai looked at the sleepiness that had not yet dissipated from her eyes with interest. You slept quite comfortably. Li Ju frowned, so, Chi Jinkai raised his wrist and pointed at the time on the watch, it's time to get off work. Oh, what then? Li Ju looked at him, the meaning in his eyes was obvious. Since you're off work, why are you still here? Chi Jinkai took out a bunch of car keys, threw them to her, and said, Secretary Li, it's time for you to take me to my old house. Li Ju. Arriving at the underground garage, Li Ju was almost blinded by the rows of global limited edition luxury cars. If anyone who loves cars were here now, they would probably go crazy. Li Ju twitched his lips and pressed the car key in his hand. The headlights of the Rolls-Royce Phantom closest to her flashed several times. The two of them got into the car and closed the door. Li Ju started the car, turned his head to look at Chi Jinkai, and asked, Are you sure you want me to drive? The tone is obviously meaningful. Is it possible for me to come? Li Ju turned his head, looked forward, and touched the tip of his tongue to the roof of his mouth. The corners of his mouth twitched slightly, making a slight arc. Then don't regret it? As soon as he finished speaking, Li Ju slammed on the accelerator, and the car rushed out like an arrow, leaving only a trail of exhaust gas. The scenery around him quickly retreated. Chi Jinkai looked sideways at Li Ju, Are you trying to race in the city? SR Group is a giant industry in Daijing. Naturally, the company is located in the most prosperous area of Daijing. You may be caught speeding at an intersection. Although no traffic policeman in Daijing dared to deal with his violation. But he also didn't want to be in the news for speeding in the city. Li Ju glanced at him without letting go of the accelerator at all. Didn't you ask me to drive? Can't you slow down? I'm sorry, I was your driver, but I never said I would follow your instructions to drive. Chi Jinkai was speechless for the first time. He turned his head to one side and remained silent. Li Ju saw that he was choked back, and his expression rarely showed a hint of joy. End of third update. So the third master is not only evil-hearted but also vindictive. End of this chapter.